I see a great number of faces in front of me. What strikes me is that you people have one thing in common. Your faces are beaming with excitement and high expectations about this conference that has just started.
Who is this man, I hear you ask, and whose are the beaming faces that he speaks of? Well, I am glad you brought that up, because that's what this podcast is about. The voice you hear is that of the Servas International President, Johnny, and the beaming faces he is addressing belong to the highly excited, though possibly slightly jet-lagged, crowd of around 160 Servas members from across the world. But where Johnny is wrong is that these folk don't just have one thing in common. Not only are they all beaming, they are all in Seoul. And they're all in Seoul for the purpose of attending the 31st Servas International Conference and General Assembly. Hello, I call at you over top of the traditional Korean big band performance of the first night of our conference extravaganza. My name's Lauren Gordon, and welcome to Letter of Introduction, the Servas Australia podcast that takes you on a Servas traveller's journey into the lives and homes of people you'd never otherwise meet. And in today's episode, into the hallowed halls of the Seoul International Youth Hostel on the outskirts of Seoul in South Korea for a little taste of Sikoga 2018. Now listen, I can hear you saying, but you talked about the international conference last time. And what you say is true. In episode 1, we did talk to Nancy O'Toole about her experiences at a Spanish international conference I now know to have been held in 2004. But don't panic. I'll try not to repeat myself. And this Sikoga, well, I was there, with my microphone in my hot little hand, so the intention here is to give you a bit more of a live action feel. So you, dear listener, can taste the kimchi and hear yourself who's next on the speakers list into the discussions about whether to vote yes for motion 631. So there's a few things that I want to cover as I paint you a picture of this intensive conference week. Firstly, why? Why a conference? What's it for? What's its purpose? And why do 160 people meet every 3 years in a random spot on the Earth? Secondly, speaking of random spots on the Earth, where? Why South Korea? And where has it been before? And in South Korea, where is it and what does it look like? Finally, and probably most importantly, who? Who were all these fabulous and colourful people from 52 countries across the Servas world? Well, before we go any further, why don't we hear from some of them?
Hello, I'm Fidel Rutaisire. I'm from Rwanda, East Africa. Thank you, Lauren. I love you.
Yeah, so my name is Bogi, Boglarka Kovacs. In Hungarian pronunciation, it would be actually Kovacs Boglarka Zuzanna Margita. And I'm from Hungary, yeah.
Hello, my name is George Gonzalez. I'm a deputy in Servas Spain, where we call it vice president. And I'm very glad to meet you.
Okay, let's start with the first question. Why?
So, yes, we are gathered here to create new ideas and make decisions on how to further develop Servas as a community that promotes peace and hospitality.
You know, the theme of the conference is connecting people and culture for peace. And that is why the focus of the program will be on the development of Servas International as a peace and hospitality organization.
So that's why, to develop Servas as a peace and hospitality organisation. But how do you do that?
We have Yannick, who has made a list of people who would like to contribute here.
Well, we talk around a big table in an orderly fashion. Thank you, Yannick.
So I think the attractive idea that she had was to have projects. And then when you have projects, then it attracts a lot of people.
We have a project last month that we will celebrate Ganesh festival with international guests.
We have begun a project. We're calling it Servas Experiences.
In Israel, we have events, international events, and also interest groups.
I think the emphasis is really critical at that initial stage for travelers to be made aware of all of these incredible things that are going on.
And there is a lot going on. Did you know about all these projects, dear listener? There was also some talk about regional need and practice.
We have a problem in Georgia with infrastructure of communications. If you could simplify the website to include Android devices to make it simpler for people to contact Servas.
Well, Brazil is a huge country, so what we have been doing now is trying to set up interviews through Skype or other video conference program.
This was a brainstorming session, and it went on for about an hour and 15 minutes in the beginning of the week. Well, there was a lot to say. Fortunately, though, Servas has some group discussion management experience in our treasurer, Radha.
Here's what I'm going to do. I've been a professor for a very long time, and so I know how to manage these things. We will come back to you at the end. All right? So we'll go on to the next.
So that's one part of the why. The part where members brainstorm and people talk about ways forward in Servas and share ideas about what's been working in their own country. Another part of the why is governance. Who's going to serve on the International Board EXCO and other international committees?
Candidate we would like to hear from is for the new role in EXCO called Membership and Technology Secretary.
Last thing is, I just want to say thank you for considering me for Peace Secretary, and I look forward to possibly working with this dynamic team of EXCO. Thank you.
Congratulations to Paige from the US and Andres from Switzerland for those positions. Beyond elections, there's the general business, which, when it goes well, sounds a little bit like
In favor
this.
of the motion, please raise your paddles now.
29.
30.
31.
32. 33. 34.
49 votes for the motion, so I think it is unanimous. I don't see any votes against the motion and no abstentions. The motion passes unanimously.
Of course, it wasn't always the case that everyone agreed so wholeheartedly, but the delegates did a good job discussing and deciding. And they got through all the business by the end of the week. What that business was, well, I'm not going to deal with that here, but if you are desperate to know the outcome of all those motions, then you can look at the Servas International website, where you can find the minutes of the meeting and read about those motions to your heart's content.
Hi, I'm Natasha Nareen. I'm from Italy, but originally I come from Pakistan. And shall I go on and tell more about it myself without any questions? Yes, why not?
My name is Amir Levy from Israel.
My name is Kim Misu. I'm living in Seoul. My husband's name is Choi Byung-wan. I'm from Korea.
Okay, time for the next question, which is where? The dulcet tones of Seoul's metro line. This one was number 5, which was the one that took us out to Bangwa, where we spent 6 happy days amongst 1 million people. But how did we end up there? In Seoul, I mean. Why was South Korea the host of the 2018 Sukoga? Well, I can't tell you the specifics, but what I can say is that in the Servas International Handbook from 2015, in Section 4, which is a Roman numeral, number 2, which is not, it talks about the General Assembly, and in that section it says that normally a member group is selected by Servas International EXCO to host the event. The selection criteria developed at the 2001 General Assembly are rotation, that should be held in different places, health standards, safety standards, immigration, bracket passports and visas bracket, accessibility, travel to and from, adequate infrastructure, feasibility study on costs, sufficient local people to help organise, development in the area, and adequate conference facilities. So that's what it says. Well, to address 2 of the 10 criteria, local people to help, tick. The Koreans did a great job and were generous and hospitable hosts, both at and either side of the conference. As for the conference facilities, well, let me tell you. Actually, don't let me tell you. Not that you've got any control over this, of course. Why not let Julia tell you? Julia, our illustrious help desk officer.
I stayed at, the International Youth Hostel at the conference venue. I slept there. I shared with my Korean service members, I think 6 or 7 members in a room together. Hostel, that was a really nice place because around the hostel there was a great forest. It's like a park. It makes the members and I feel really cold and peaceful. And we could take a walk in the morning before breakfast. That makes so many people, service members, happy. I stayed at the help desk all day long from early in the morning to the late evening, even sometimes 2 a.m.
2 a.m? Julia, that's a late help desk session. The conference and accommodation were an all-in-one. We all stayed on the premises 24/7. Well, almost. There were actually quite a lot of tours that were run, and a tour on the Wednesday to the demilitarised zone between North and South Korea that everyone went to. The mornings were early. Probably people were getting up around 6:30 for breakfast at 7. And the days were long, to sometimes a very late night. You heard Julia, 2 a.m. on the help desk. The conference facilities, there were meeting rooms. The big meeting room is where you heard the discussions going on before. This was a large, high-ceilinged room where tables were arranged into a U-shape, and there were smaller rooms for other workshop discussions. Where do we sleep? Well, the bedrooms were many and varied. I shared a room with 2 women, one from Belarus, one from Kyrgyzstan. Excellent work by Amir Levy, our roommate coordinator. And then there was the dining hall, which is where one ate one's food. And people had a lot to say about the food.
The food was really nice, so delicious. I put on weight there. There was, I think, a Korean traditional food. That was nice. Korean traditional food is kimchi and some special vegetable and some seaweed soup, fresh fish, and special rice with the seaweed, noodles, yeah, bulgogi, yes, and kimbap. Kimbap was nice as well.
Though it's Julia again. Of course, she's familiar with Korean food. Angelika from Belarus, on the other hand.
First of all, when I came to the dining hall, I noticed many things that I didn't know even how to eat. It was like something different, and you should choose what you want, but you don't know what you want because you didn't taste it. So it was a great experience for me to try their food and even to adjust to it because it was so spicy, this kimchi and so on and so forth. But really now I miss it so much and really want to try it one more time.
Post-Korean kitchen blues, they call it. We've all got it. I wonder if there's been other post-conference kitchen blues. Well, if we look at recent conference venues, the 2015 conference was in New Zealand. Before that was Poland, and then Argentina, Italy, Spain, Thailand, Guatemala, Melbourne. It's kind of hard to go past an Italian kitchen, or a Thai kitchen for that matter. In the 60s, the conferences were mostly in Europe. There was some in Denmark and in Austria. It was only in the 80s when the conference venue ventured further afield. In India, I think it was 1980, there was a conference held in an ashram in Gujarat, and then in Israel in 1983 in Naharaya. At the back of the Servas International Handbook, there's a whole stash of minutes which tell you the stories of these conferences, at least in part, about trips and tours around the countryside and heated discussions around tables. Apart from the technology, nothing too much has changed.
Hi, I'm Taya Sichintu and I'm from Malawi, Africa. I am the youth representative.
I'm Maggie from Uganda. I'm the national secretary.
My name is David Schwartz, and I'm from Oakland, California, but I'm really a citizen of the world.
The final thing I wanted to ask in this little radio show about our 6 nights in Bangwa, actually about that, it was technically 7, but 7 has too many syllables, so let's call it 6, is who? In the end, the reason that we're all part of this organisation is because of the people, because of the who in this 3W equation. So, who was there? Where were they from? What did they do? What was their story? Well, you've heard from part of the crowd. Here's some more.
Hi, I'm Kit from Malaysia. Again, Malaysia, not Thailand.
G'day, mate. I'm Craig from Australia.
Susanne Testrup, Denmark.
There were 49 delegates voting, with 2 countries who'd just been readmitted to Servas after some years off. That would be Kenya and our old friend Belarus. Interesting side note, Belarus first became a member in 1995, I discovered from reading the minutes at the back of the SI handbook, and went out again in Thailand in 2001 because there was just a couple of members left. And it's just this year, 17 years later, that Belarus is back on board under the wise guidance of its National Secretary, Angelika. At the beginning of the conference, the now former General Secretary Penny read out a list of all the countries that were attending this year's conference.
Tanzania, Taiwan, Switzerland, Sweden.
In reverse alphabetical order, you'll notice. According to that list, there were 52 countries. I knew I got it from somewhere. And of course, with all these countries comes a whole lot of different languages. Though the conference operated in English and partly in Spanish, it was common to hear all sorts of different languages as one strolled about the conference venue. Some of those languages, you'll be happy to know, were used to greet you, dear listener.
Добрый вечер. Добрый вечер, я Миша из Москвы. Будьте здоровы и счастливы.
Adım Gülşen, soyadım Elyak. Türkiye'den geliyorum, İstanbul'da yaşıyorum.
Mi chiamo Roberto Capizzuto e vengo da Bari, Italia.
Soy Ana Mangui de Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Apart from a diversity of language, there were people of all ages. Our youngest attendee was Chiara from Italy.
Okay, I'm Chiara. I'm 18 years old. I'm from Italy.
There were about 15 youth who attended the conference. They all came a couple of days early and went to a meeting so that they could train on how to help in the General Assembly. They handed around microphones and they helped generally to facilitate the discussions. Some of the youth were also able to get funding to come to the conference.
So in May, they sent out an email asking, saying there was this opportunity because young people could be funded to go to the GA in Korea. And I had never heard about the GA actually. I knew there were some international meetings. I didn't really know how it worked and anything. So I read some stuff and so on. I was convinced my parents to get their approval.
On the other end of the scale, there were people who'd been to many conferences in the past.
I'm Abhay Shah from India. I joined 4 international conferences before these, and I was observer in all that. I enjoy Servas.
There are people from many backgrounds, lots of different professions.
Yeah, my name is Gulzat, and I'm National Secretary of Servas Kyrgyzstan, and I work as a professional development and teacher training institute.
Oh, I'm an architect.
I am a farmer, I am a social worker, I am a volunteer.
I've been doing the international marketing for over 35 years.
I met teachers, writers, artists, IT professionals, life coaches, accountants, nurses, massage therapists, all sorts. And from all over. And of course, people are many more things than what they do for money, but that would take a whole lot of other podcast episodes to explore. Speaking of which, I was able to talk to quite a few people during the conference about different aspects of their Servas experiences, and I look forward to telling you those stories in coming episodes. But for now, well, you got some live action. You got a taste of South Korea, Sekoga 2018. Not everything. I mean, there's a million more things we could have spoken about. For example, all the country performances that happened every night, including this one on the last night. Quite the show from Russia, but yes, one can only fit so much into 22 minutes. So I hope this has been enough to give you a little glimpse, or if you were there, to inspire in you some nostalgia as you think back on that wonderful week we spent together in Seoul. And it was wonderful. So thank you, Korea. And here's to the next one, wherever that might be. Music used in this episode of Letter of Introduction was taken from the performances on the first night of the conference. Thank you to the Korean drumming team and to the performers in the traditional Korean big band.